my point. I said,
Answer the
okay. One point only, and I said why one of the reasons why many people in the Arab world don't go against their government. I'm not talking about Saudi Arabia. I'm talking people like in Iraq or let's say
I
not
didn't
Iraq,
say Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about Rabaa massacre.
Egypt. Yeah, I'm talking
You're
about
replying to
Egypt.
me, Elmo. Not
Why
not
why
everything is
don't
about
the
you.
Egyptians go against Sisi? Can you tell me
It's not
why?
the Rabaa. I'm not here to talk about that, Rima. I'm talking about the Rabaa massacre. What you talked about.
Yeah, what about Rabaa massacre?
Yeah, it was not that. Actually, more than 60% of the people evacuated after the
Replying to
police
me,
was shot.
Elmo. I mean,
Really?
Greyman,
you're
shut the
so
fuck up.
controlling.
I'm talking to
Elmo
Rima.
is so controlling.
Hey guys, keep the back. Hold on,
Controlling.
hold on. If you are going to be talking over Aisha, I can drop everybody and just keep one person on the panel. I don't. There's no need to. Greybird, you want to talk? You can wait for your turn. Let's talk one after the other.
No, my app simply glitched,
Greyman, you
and I
interrupted
was
me. I'm
having
responding
a
to Rima.
conversation with Rima.
You
and then
interrupted me
Elmo,
while I was responding to Rima. So
no, Elmo.
she was
Elmo,
asking
you
me a
literally
question. I was
just-
responding to her. You
Very
interrupted
good.
me.
Listen to Elmo,
So
please.
just
why don't
saying.
you? Why was you supremacy?
God,
Shut the
so-
fuck up and let me respond to
Bitch.
her.
Okay.
No, calm down, bro. No
Such
need
a
for
big.
this.
Go ahead. Go
Calm down,
ahead.
calm
All
down.
right,
Calm
good,
down.
good. Okay,
Go
good,
ahead
good
and
boy.
respond. Let me, so I can continue. I can moderate the conversation. You guys want to talk? Get it out of your system in 2 minutes. Let's go.
No worries, thank you, brother. Yeah, so Rima, in regard of Rabaa, what happened in the massacre, apparently, actually over 60% of the people evacuated. The police have actually told people to evacuate and leave the area and all of these things. But the Ikhwan at the time in the area, no, don't leave. And so much shit happened. There were weapons in the area. Look, I'm not justifying it. It was a massacre, horrible things happened, and people were unalive. But women getting checked if they were virgins or what. I don't know where you're
It
getting
did
this.
happen. It did happen.
ريما
It
بالله
did
عليك يا
happen.
أختي
Come
بالله
on.
عليك الحكي عن
Egyptians
تحكيها.
themselves, they said, I have a
يا
sister.
ريما يا
I have a
ريما
half
هاد حكي
Egyptian sister.
اخوانيه هدول هاد حكي الاخوان يا ريما شو عم
Because
تحكي
you're
يا
against the brotherhood doesn't mean that it didn't
It
happen.
didn't happen يا ريما it didn't happen شو عم تحكي يا الله.
طب انا بقول لك شغله، انا ماني اخوانيه ولا اختي
طب اوكي ما انا عم بحكي لك هاد حكي اخوان. هاد حكي اخوان يا ريما. It didn't happen.
No, I wasn't there, Roger. No.
I'm just trying to let you know.
Nevertheless, okay, tell me why Egypt doesn't go against Sisi. Well, most of them are against Sisi.
Do you think the people شايف الناس قادرة بتاكل? Do you think the people have the
I'm telling you, but they put them in such a miserable situation, and you cannot deny that there are more prisons now in Egypt. They put them in a more miserable situation.
Okay, and no one is agreeing with that. And it's horrible.
Yes, that's what I mean. That they put them in such a miserable situation that they don't think about going against this because they're weak.
It's not about them going against Sisi. It's because people are dying and people are being imprisoned. What do you want them to do? Egypt cannot withstand another 2011. Egypt did not even recover from. Yarima, you guys need to understand.
That's
Take
what
voices
exactly
out
I
there
was
and speak
talking
about
about
realism.
Elmo.
Okay, no. Again. You need to understand. You need to take emotions out of it and speak realistically in regard of it. Okay, Egypt has not recovered from 2011 yet.
Okay,
Egypt
and
has not recovered from
let me help you out.
2011.
Alright, guys, 1 second.
yeah.
Guys, let me help you out.
Yeah.
There was a report by Human Rights Watch that we published at the time. I was with the Wall Street Journal. It was a sham. The military virginity test that was done by supposedly by the Egyptian military. It turned out to be a sham. The whole thing was a propaganda.
Exactly.
Human Rights Watch actually issued
Just
a
hold on,
statement
Emma.
and then a report on it because they carried it out in the first place without double checking. Then they actually carried out a statement and the whole report on it and proved that it was a sham. We all got basically pissed off because of the news, by the way, that they were doing this to women because it was the same thing that they accused the Lebanese army of doing during the protests, if you remember, back in the days. So I'm just telling you, Human Rights Watch issued as a whole report investigating the matter, and they said it was a sham.
Okay, do you agree that what's happened, that, for example, they cannot go against the Sisi, as I said, and maybe you understood because of what happened after Morsi was put down? Because
Look, Morsi.
do you agree with that or not?
No, Morsi was bad for Egypt. I don't care what anyone is going to say. Morsi was bad for Egypt.
Listen, I'm not saying was he good or not. I'm saying that the aftermath of what happened made them not be
It's a dictatorship.
strong enough to do so.
It's military ruled. It's military ruled. It's dictatorship. No one is denying that. No one arguing that.
That's all I wanted to say. That's
No,
all.
but again, you're expecting people to rile up and go do 2011 again. Egypt has not recovered from 2011.
That's what I meant. That's what I'm telling.
Alright.
That kindness here. That's
All
what I
right,
meant.
all right. Just a quick one for everybody on the panel. Leila, if you want to speak on this as well. I held a 1 hour section 2 days ago and spoke about Saudi Arabia and the relationship with Yemen, going back to the Anglo-Ottoman partition of 1909, and what the Saudis have done, supporting the republic in the south, all the way to supporting the last guy. I think he died in Saudi Arabia, Abu Rabu Mansur al-Hadi. And for those of you that know about Yemen, those in the south, the Yemeni people from the north see them as outsiders, as descendants of the Turks, Jews from Morocco, European people that have mixed their blood with Arabs and live in Aden, because the British was using that route as a trade route to India. So the fighting between the north and the south has been going on for a long time. But Saudi Arabia in particular have always been supporting the so-called outsiders in the south as against the. By the way, one other point before I load my question. In 1991, during the period of the First Gulf War, Yemen was part of the UN Security Council, non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, and voted against an attempt by America to attack Iraq. You know what Saudi Arabia did? Expelled 800,000 Yemenis. You can check me up on this one. 800,000 were expelled and they bombed them. So what we saw in 2015 was time. So my question, particularly in relation to Saudi Arabia,
to much shift between southern Yemen and northern Yemen, and they separated at one point in time, then they rejoined, and now they're separated because of the Saudi-backed, what you call, campaign that was launched in 2015 against Yemen. It extended till 2021, 2022. Then the Saudis and northern Yemen, Ansarullah, actually signed a truce agreement that continues to hold until today, despite few breaches from here and there from both sides. So last year, for example, the Yemenis breached that truce by sending missiles over Saudi territories towards Palestine. And earlier this year and even last month, the Saudis actually basically engaged in what call skirmishes or a small conflict along the borders with the Yemeni armed forces in the north. So at the end of the day, they share the same borders, by the way, with northern Yemen. So at the end of the day, when you look at the whole situation, the Saudis' recent stance when it comes to Yemen, since 2015 until today, they were pumped so much by the Americans that the Iranians had taken over, and the Iranians are going to create problems at your borders with northern Yemen. So you better basically finish them first before they finish you. And this is why they entered into this war. Eventually, they found out it wasn't the case, and they signed a truce. However, the Saudis have a tendency towards throwing money to control people. They like this kind of hegemony. It's like a newly rich kind of mentality. They love to hear the word "yes, sir." They will throw money to buy you. If they cannot buy you, they will smear you. It's something that has to do with kind of the general cultural thing. Groups, including terrorist groups like groups like Al Qaeda, at one point in time, some of those groups were funded by the Americans and the Saudis at one point to create that rift in Yemen so they can divide and conquer. And at one point later on, they had impoverished Yemen so they can continue to control it. So economic sanctions, siege, among other things. Now the Saudis had pulled out, but the Emiratis are there on the ground with the Israelis. They built basically, for example, the Emiratis continue to wage their war against the Yemenis. They built a military base in Socotra, which is an island off the shore of the coast from southern Yemen. Yeah, and the Israelis are there. And they are doing espionage everywhere. And you get to see some of the Israeli merchandise in the Yemeni part, in the southern Yemeni part. So this is the whole situation when it comes to Yemen. There's no hatred between the tribes. Literally, a Yemeni would look at another Yemeni as Yemeni. They don't.
Just a quick one. The island of Socotra was originally Somali, by the way, and the British and the people took it and later became part of Yemen. But it's the Emiratis that are there, not the Saudis. That's what I heard.
70 years.
Hold on, Rima.
Again, I have to correct your information over here. There are tribes from Yemen who live in Socotra for like hundreds and thousands of years. Their tribes extend over there.
I tell you something.
No, hold on, Rita. I don't know why you're
Yemen away from Somalia. Away from Somalia. So like
it's in the Indian Ocean. No, I'm saying that Somalia had control of it at a point in time. But I want to go back to the point of Socotra. Is it the Saudis there? Because from what I know, it's the Emiratis that are building the military project to the Israelis on the island of Socotra.
Something very important. 70 years ago, 80 years ago, Yemeni people, as Layla said, they were so close to the Saudis. They used to go there, and they used to give them only the ones that do not want. They used to give them even Saudi passports. My brother and my sister's husband is one of these people. His father was one of these people. Anyway, the point is that lately they made it look as it's a conflict between Shia and Sunnah. And that's why they made it look this way, the conflict aroused. Like, if you are a Sunni, you're going to be on the Saudi side. They made it look this way, you know? And if you're a Shia...
I think it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. But I want to hold Leila on a few things. So the reason I'm pressing forward on this question is that there's some sort of... I don't know whether it's acquiescence or some sort of, wave of the finger anytime the name Saudi Arabia is brought up in the region. Saudi Arabia kidnapped the prime minister of Lebanon, but I don't want to go that. I want to focus on Yemen. And this goes back to the Sultanate of Lahej. And you're saying that the people in the... I'm not saying that everybody in the south are like foreigners. No, they are Yemeni people as well. But the fact that from the times of the Ottoman and the British, and even when the Italians came, Italians tried to play the north against the south, particularly the south of Yemen. There's a tendency that outside forces have always backed those of them in the south against the north. And you said it yourself, this is why they operated the imamate in the north and the republic in the south until the 90s, until they brought in Ali Abdullah Saleh. And the history also, this is what I don't understand. And over this 100 years plus, the Saudis and the Brits and the Ottomans before them have always been backing the south, and the north have always been fighting against the south because The south is where the British have set up their base. It's the same place that the Ottomans came in through. It's the same place that the Italians wanted to come in through. So this is what I don't understand. And Saudi Arabia, as we see
Occupied
today,
Yemen. Very careful. No, no, you have to be careful. The Yemenis occupied. The Ottomans occupied Saudi Arabia. They never occupied Yemen. Nobody occupied Yemen except for they were part of Oman, Sultanate Oman, but they were never under the Ottomans. Be careful. The Ottomans tried to play them against each other, but they were never able to actually occupy Yemen. It was the Saudis who were occupied by the Ottomans at the borders of Yemen.
They did all the way to the south, including Asir and Jaffa, which were originally part of Yemen, and later
That was from Omani side, but they didn't take over Yemen as a whole Yemen.
they
They didn't
did.
take over.
They did.
The Yemenis actually fought over.
Pasha,
The Yemenis actually fought over the whole.
So Pasha controlled Aden for donkey years before the British took over. The British were there. I mean, the idea that the British and the Ottomans were not in Yemen at all, is this like some sort of reality, or like we can do like a chronological discussion on this from
If they control a
1644?
city, yeah, sure. But if they controlled a city or two, that's one thing. But controlling all of Yemen, like they did with Saudi Arabia, or they did with
Exactly, that's the
Lebanon, or they
point.
did with Syria, no, it wasn't that case. They
So
tried to
that's not
actually
the
take
point.
over
That's
all
not
of
the
Yemen.
hold on, guys. There's a lot of mics open. I'm not saying they control the entirety of Yemen. Yemen, as we have today, is not the original Yemen. There's a greater Yemen, which even include some of the cities that Saudi occupied today. The point I'm making is that Yemen, as we have on the map today, is not the Yemen, the idea of the greater Yemen. It controls all the way, like I said, to Jaffa in the north. Some of those territories that Oman have today, some of those territories that the Saudis control today were originally part of Yemen. And I'm saying that in Aden, in the south, the British were there. They had political control, and this is why they've always backed the powers in the south. The northern tribes have never accepted the rule of the government in the south because they see them as being controlled from abroad. That's the point I was trying to make. I'm not, and the idea of the nation state is new. So Yemen as a
I
state did
agree with
not
you. I
concede.
agree with you. Controlled by abroad is one thing. Sorry, there's a delay on my because I'm in Lebanon, so like the internet is not that good. So there's about 2 seconds delay. I was saying I agree with you that the Ottomans played South Yemen versus North Yemen. That the North Yemenis saw the Southerners as collaborators with the abroad, but they never saw them as strangers. As you like in the beginning, what I understood from you is saying that the people
Okay.
from South Yemen are strangers. They're not strangers, but they actually collaborated with the strangers, and this is why there was the rift that was easily played between both sides. Like today, for example, Southern Yemen actually supports the Emirati military campaign, and the North basically defies that. When I was talking about
Let, I think we're on the
Ottomans
same, we're
tried
on
to
this
occupy.
now. I think no. At the beginning, at the beginning there was this perception that somehow I'm an ignoramus when it comes. By the way, Yemen is a place that I love so much, and I've been spending a lot of time trying to understand. Why did the British expel the Sultan of Lahej? The point I'm making here is that the Southerners have been collaborators with the outsiders in the British, and there were a lot of migration that came to the south. During this time period, a lot of people from Morocco, a lot of Jews even came in, and most of them live in the south. The southerners therefore begin to see themselves as superior to those of them in the north. And again, this continued until the 50s when the war happened, and there was this idea of running the imamate in the north and the republic in the south. Until even after the unification and the civil war that led up all the way to 99 or 2000 when Ali Abdullah Saleh was elected. Yeah, no, I'm not an ignoramus. I want to speak about this topic. But again, it's the role of the Saudis. And the reason why I'm mentioning the Saudis is that I see Saudi Arabia as it is constructed today as a colonial project, as a British project, and they continue to acquiesce and do whatever the outsiders wanted to do. So it's not a surprise to me because, again, if I'm adding 1 plus 1, it goes back to 1909 when they had this partition. It's called, I think I forgot the name, but it's 1909 that the idea of this modern day Yemen came about. The same thing, and if you move further to the 30s and the creation of modern day Saudi Arabia. So this is what the Brits have created. And because of that, anytime something goes wrong, Saudi Arabia goes straight to the south and begin to support the elements of the south in the north. It's not by coincidence. Why? Because the northerners are very rebellious, and the idea that people from outside can come and control them is what they don't agree with. So this is the conversation I want to have. So when I had this picture up here and I speak about Saudi Arabia, and somebody say, oh, this is that is convenient for me because I'm a Christian to speak about this in this way, that this guy is a killer, no doubt about that. The Israelis are the number one problem. But what I don't understand is why are these guys always working with the outsiders, and somehow people think they are manipulating them. No, they are not. It's by design.
Sab,
Let me speak,
Sab,
please. Hi.
wait, can I ask you one more question,
Hi.
please, Sab? I've been hearing you say that Israel is the number one. Are you in Africa, Sab? Sab, are you in Africa?
No, I'm
Yes.
not. I don't have time to discuss Israel. Get the fuck out of this
Yes.
place.
Hi, brother. Hi, everyone. I want to let you know, like, Saudi Arabia and Emirates is the devil in the area. And if, look, Israel, it's complete. Saudi Arabia and Emirates. If Israel gone, this country it's gonna gone. They have benefit from each other. That's why when you see Saudi Arabia and Israel, they together, they work together, and it's a start not now. It's a start in the 48, and Palestine was the piece of cake. All of them they want to sell it to the Zionists to get what? To get modern and to have country, and that's what happened now. Before the 48, Saudi Arabia and Emirates, they was live in the tent, they was poor, they bought with their hand, they sell our country to the Zionists, and now they become modern because they have the oil, yeah, but there is no one wanna take out the oil from the like bring the oil out, and that's why Saudi Arabia and Emirates is the devil. They want to be modern. They do anything to be modern and to be like the first country in the world. And that's why this is what happened. And if you remember what Trump say, he say like Saudi Arabia, they call Obama and they say, please, we want peace. And the Gaddafi is the one, he didn't want peace with Israel. And that's why we want to take him down. And they pay the money for America to support this idea in Libya. That's, I tell you, Saudi Arabia and Emirates, and they the devil, and Jordan and Egypt, they follow them because they want to live modern. That's why when you tell them and like go protest, do anything for the Gazan people, you know what? I didn't want to destroy my country. Why you bought that? If you stand up for the right and you stop your government from selling the people of Palestine, that's the modern is going to go away, because Israel put in their mind, if you want to be modern, if you want to be like the first country, or you're going to have cars, bridge, you need to be with the side with the Zionists. If you decide to go with a Palestinian, that means you want to destroy your country, you're going to be poor. And I told you, Saudi Arabia and Emirates, they not even the government, I think they not even Muslim. They
Yeah,
Zionist people.
yeah.
They Zionist.
I don't agree. I don't completely agree with that point that they are not Muslims. This is not what I'm saying at all. It has nothing. The Saudi Arabia now hosts the two holy sites. And by the way, going back to the point I made later, why did Hadim Suleiman Pasha have interest there? Why? Because of the trade route, just like the British. And in the 6th century, the two holy sites you see today in modern day Saudi Arabia used to be part of Greater Yemen. This is why the Ottomans also went there. Yeah, I don't completely agree with the fact that Saudi Arabia will cease to exist without Israel. No. The Israel was created, hold on. Israel was created in 48. Saudi Arabia, the kingdom itself, from you can say from the period of 32 to 34 was when the current model was created. So, but I want to go back to Yemen, and if you want later, we can have a conversation about a robust conversation about this. And the Houthis we are even talking about today, the Houthis as a clan emerged around the period of 2004 or 5 when the leader, I think, Mustafa Badr al-Din al-Houthi or Abdul Malik al-Houthi was unalived around the period of 2004 or 5. And this is where the clan has always been there, very powerful clan in the north. The power base is in Sada in the north. And they've always supported the government. They have never been in the center of power. They even supported Ali Abdullah Saleh. The problem is that, and you're right, the problem is that around during the period of the uprising in 2011, again, who came in and pressured Ali Abdullah Saleh to step down? The Saudis. Why? Every time there is a problem in Yemen, the Saudis step in. And I gave you one other example 1991, 800,000 Yemenis expelled. Is this topic an inconvenient topic? And do the Yemenis also deserve the right to be sovereign? And do the Saudis have so much money that they're just pushing people around and demanding respect and acquiescence as a middle power in the region? Is this not similar to what the Israelis are sort of doing? Yesterday, one of the a high delegation team from Iran flew into Lebanon through the airport in Beirut. No government official from the other side visited. Only members of, I think, some members of Amal and Hezbollah went and picked them up. And now the government wants to disband calling for the disbandment of Hezbollah, basically demilitarizing them and so on and so forth. And the Saudis are backing this plan. Israel is saying yes, absolutely. So it's not just Yemen, it's in Lebanon. In fact, people blame Iran for a lot of things. Yeah, the Iranians are also intervening in the politics of their neighbor. But what about the Saudis? Why is it so inconvenient for people in the region to talk about what the Saudis are doing? I know for a fact because again, like these people you referred to earlier, the RSF, those guys they were the major guys that were destroying Darfur, which have been, and you and I have talked about this. We used to call them Janjaweed, the devil on horseback. Those guys were dreaded and feared. They will go to places in South Kordofan, they go to places in the Blue Nile, they go to Darfur, they wipe out an entire village and poison the well. Dreaded, and they took them to Yemen to unalive Yemenis. Yeah, so this is what, and who took them? The Saudis and the Emiratis. So this is the conversation I'm interested in having with you, and you're a very knowledgeable person. I want to tap into your knowledge and your viewpoint about the Saudis.
Yeah, do you want a very interesting point when it comes to the Janjaweeds and fighting in Yemen? Some of them continue to be prisoners of war in Yemen until today. Sudan actually pulled out their forces from there after they found out that they were played, but there are hundreds of them that continue to be prisoners.